So, what went wrong with Star Wars, and how can it potentially be fixed? Will there be a new hope, or is it truly time for the Jedi to end? To answer this, we need to take a deep dive into a time before the Disney acquisition. During this period, the prequels were still very divisive amongst the fans, and there was no new movies to be released for years. It looked like Star Wars would become a fond memory for those fortunate enough to have grown up during one of the sagas. Star Wars was in limbo, and it looked like it would never escape this fate. However, this would all change.
Today, I am proud to announce the Walt Disney Company is acquiring Lucasfilm, the global entertainment company founded by George Lucas and the home of the legendary Star Wars franchise.
On October the 30th, 2012, Disney announced that they had acquired the rights to Star Wars. Along with this revelation, they informed the public that they would release a sequel trilogy to the much beloved original series. Fans rejoiced across the world as they would soon bear witness to a brand new series of films. When The Force Awakens teaser dropped, the reception was overwhelming. The fans were more than excited, and the internet was plagued with endless theories as to what story the new series would tell. The Force Awakens turned out to be a monumental success, with most satisfied. The speculation for the sequels was high at this point, and people were excited to see what the next two films in the saga would bring. Then, the dark times happened.
I have a question about since you're taking not taking over, but since you're doing The Last Jedi and JJ obviously did The Force Awakens, are you guys building the world of the new trilogy together, or are you jumping off of his story and then the next one he's jumping off of your story?
Well, no. So he's going to do the next episode. So
Right.
he'll do the final chapter of this trilogy, and then I'm just completely separately going to be coming up with a whole new trilogy. So it won't be connected to this at all. And yeah, I'm just going to come up with something new and do it.
We received the second offering of the trilogy, and it left much to be desired. Luke was no longer Luke, we got Leia Poppins, and Snoke was treated as a joke. Many left the theatre confused as to what they had just witnessed, and this was the first sign that all may not be well with Star Wars and Disney. Older fans who had grown up with the original trilogy were completely baffled by the creative decisions made in the film. This was not the Luke Skywalker they had wanted to be as kids. What was left in the wake of this was a mere husk of what the character used to be. Even though the film had been a financial success for Disney, the damage to the fandom had already begun, and this would dominate the future of the franchise moving forwards. When the rise of Skywalker was announced, fans had become far more skeptical, and the goodwill that Disney had earned with them was beginning to wane. Han and Luke were killed off, and sadly Carrie Fisher had passed away. The first trailer dropped, and while some seemed just as engrossed as ever, there was definitely a far more negative reception. The reviews that followed were an onslaught of negativity, and it had become clear that Disney's sequel trilogy had failed to hit the mark. So, what made Star Wars special? When George Lucas penned the script for his acclaimed space opera, he wanted to take his audiences out of this world. The first film of the original trilogy captivated the minds of the public, which would in turn change the face of the modern blockbuster. If you scrape the surface of the film, it's a simple coming-of-age story, mixed with a hero's journey. What made it stand out from the crowd was its characters. You had the young hero taking his first steps into a larger world, a space pirate anti-hero, and a princess that was more than capable of looking after herself. In modern film, we're drowned with identity politics and gender equality. However, Star Wars was ahead of the curve. Leia was not portrayed as a damsel in distress. Instead, she was very much one of the leads, which made the film all the better because of it. So what's happened to modern Star Wars? Unfortunately, modern Star Wars has now become a political punching bag for Disney. They are so focused on inclusivity that they have made the franchise itself exclusive. Male leads are barely an afterthought, and female characters are portrayed as perfect individuals. This, however, brings me to my first issue with modern Star Wars. It's the flaws. What makes a character interesting and relatable is the flaws. We as an audience all have them, and it helps connect us to a character. Watching Luke fail during his first time with Yoda and his confrontation with Darth Vader is precisely what made the original trilogy so special. You wanted to root for Luke because we can see aspects of ourselves within his character. It's the smaller character moments that make it so compelling. Flaws are what make us distinctly human, and because we can see this within the character, it's fundamentally easier to project ourselves onto them. This is why Empire Strikes Back is still considered the best of the series. When you watch the original series and even the prequels, you can see that there is a clear direction the story is going in. Characters are set up and then paid off in the film the setup takes place in, or in one of the subsequent sequels. When looking at modern Star Wars, specifically the sequel trilogy, there's clearly no direction, and it shows. There is no payoff, and due to this, there was no real character development. We as an audience like to see our characters grow because I believe it speaks to us. It says that we are able to grow, and that is a very empowering feeling. Again, because we are projecting ourselves onto that growth. Without these elements, there is no emotional connection to the characters. Ever since Disney acquired the rights to Star Wars, politics and agendas have started to creep their way to the forefront of the stories being told.
I want to ask you both because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And
Unfortunately, this is something that is completely irrelevant, because when George Lucas created his trilogy, he wanted everyone to see themselves in the characters. Whether it be Leia's courage or Han's sacrifice, people could connect to it. When agendas and real-world politics are plastered over a film, it can destroy the magic of what makes a film so special, as we are thrust back into the realms of reality. People watch films normally to escape reality, but in recent years, Disney has made this incredibly difficult. After all, what truly matters is strongly fleshed out characters and a story worth telling. So, can Star Wars be fixed? I believe it can.
But not yet. Not yet.
It needs to be out of the public eye to heal. The creators behind the scenes need to have the time to come up with something strong and fleshed out. If they can introduce characters that are flawed yet relatable, Star Wars will begin to find its footing once again. The politics need to be dropped, and there needs to be a clear creative direction. Audiences have been burned by the franchise, and it will take a while to earn their trust again. But hopefully, with the right minds behind the project, Star Wars can be great again. So that was my views on Star Wars, guys. I hope you liked it. I'm going to be doing videos more like this more often. So if you liked what you heard today and would like to hear more, please subscribe. Don't forget, it's Danny Dubrovnik, and I will be releasing a James Bond video next. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.